Have you ever been on a software project and things seem to go wrong simply because somebody doesn't want to change the way they're thinking about things? Maybe somebody has a lot of pride wound up in what they've done or how they've worked with other people in the past, and that pride's preventing them from being successful and helping your team be successful. Well, if that's ever happened to you, stay tuned, because today we're going to talk about 5 ways pride can kill your software projects. Hi, I'm Jamie Edwards, and I help leaders of software development teams and companies to do a better job releasing their software, understanding what their customers want, and having an environment where people can be as creative and innovative as possible. Today I'd like to tell you 5 stories of how pride affected my career, and maybe these stories will help you identify and see some ways that you and others around you can change the way they work together to have more successful software projects. So the first story I'll tell you is about very early in my career. Right out of college, I worked for a really amazing company that was very well known in the industry. It had a lot of different products, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I was completely new. And I had an amazing opportunity. You know, my wife was pregnant with my second son at that time, and I was only in my 20s, and I would stay up late and read programming books and read about technology and software, because I mean, what else does a guy in his 20s do when his wife goes to bed at 7 o'clock at night? So I would stay up and learn all these things, and at that time I had an idea. You know, what if at that time XML was a new technology? What if I could find a way to send XML back and forth between manufacturing devices? And pretty shortly, I had a really amazing opportunity to lead a team of about 12 people. It was an incredible opportunity. Suddenly, the company saw a lot of potential in me, and I had something I could offer at that time that was really unique and very different for that company. And there was really a real business opportunity there to do what I had come up with. Unfortunately, though, I was, you know, being very young, very protective about my ideas. I was asked to work with some more senior people outside of the team that I had worked with before, and as I started working with them, you know, was getting a lot of advice and a lot of concerns from people, and I started to feel paranoid and scared that somebody else might take credit for my work. And the way I reacted to this was I basically shut a lot of people out, and my pride really caused me to close down a lot of relationships with people that, you know, I learned many years later could have helped me be successful in that role. And really, at the end of that project, it was ultimately a failure for me, because about half of the team I worked with really liked me and really liked the technology I worked with, and was really excited about, you know, how excited I was about technology, and how much the people that I felt were really good with the code and the technology, they liked to work with me, and they liked, you know, the way my attitude was. But for some of the other folks on the team, you know, they weren't fully bought in, and I really didn't know anything about building good work relationships with people, especially people that are initially resistant to you. So in that case, you know, fear and my own pride completely derailed the project, and I was essentially kicked off the team through a variety of interesting circumstances. It wasn't really that one person kicked me off, or it was like I was voted out of the team. It was really that I was given an opportunity to work on a different project. But ultimately, I mean, I think a lot of the reason, looking back at it now, was because I was just incredibly difficult to work with, and I had a lot of pride, and I didn't really know how to bring people into my project and my ideas and give them ownership and make them excited about it. So the second way I'll tell you that pride can really kill your software project is if you tend to create a clique and you become too proud of a group of people that you've worked with before. You know, this happened to me it was either the second or third company I worked at in my career. I was working with a group of people I had worked with for many years before. We all knew each other really well. We knew we could get the job done. We were all really innovative, really creative, and loved that about each other. And every time we worked together, we tried to work in ways to really bring out that creativity. Well, so many of us had worked together, and we were now working, we had slowly left another company and went to a new company, and pretty soon we had this little tight team, this little clique within this larger company, and we were so used to working together, and we looked out for each other, and there was a lot of loyalty there, which loyalty is a great thing. But the unfortunate thing was there were some other people at the company who'd been there longer than us, and they had a team, and they had worked on certain technology, and it was older at that time, but it was still valid, and they understood the business, and they had tenure there, and we honestly didn't respect them very much. You know, our pride about the work we had done at other companies, and kind of we saw ourselves as movers and shakers. We went into this company and really tore up their culture, not in a good way, in a bad way. We created a lot of disruption. There was a lot of distrust of us. And looking back at it, you know, it was very similar to my first story. I really just didn't know how to build good relationships with people. And there was a lot of fear that, you know, our team wasn't going to get enough recognition for what we were doing in the company, when, you know, in reality, what we were asked to do at this company, the product we were asked to build, was so new for them and so different. It would have been inevitable that we all would have had a huge opportunity to really impact this business and impact the team and all the people that worked there. But really, I think pride, and, you know, I can't speak for the others on the team, but me, myself, for certain, I think pride really prevented me from just letting other people be part of our project, share in the success, you know, us raise them up and give them more credit for the work they'd already done at the company before we even got there. So that's another way that you really got to look out for pride on your projects is, you know, are you creating a clique or kind of a select group of people on a project maybe that you feel like you can trust and you always go to them, but you're really sacrificing winning the support of other people that could really just as well help you and may actually hurt you if you don't find a way to bring them along to your side. So the third way that pride can kill your software project is if you see yourself as sort of a founder or somebody who is responsible for the business's initial success, and as it changes, you are unable to change yourself. And an example I can give you of that is I was working at a company, you know, I told you in some earlier videos, I've been a consultant for about the past 10 years. 10 years before that, I just worked at product development companies. But I went into a client where this company was growing a lot, and we were there to help them with a technology problem and a cultural problem. And one of their key people that was responsible for a really critical part of the product, and he was a technology guy, we had already been warned by everybody that this person was incredibly difficult to work with. And they couldn't really get rid of him because he, you know, knew a lot of stuff that nobody else did. So, you know, we met him and we interviewed him several times and we worked with him, and he was actually fairly respectful to us, but he was very shut down. You know, he'd stare at the floor, he'd give us really short answers. And we heard all these stories from other people about how difficult he was to work with. And, you know, as time went on, we really realized he was very critical to the success of this initial company, but as the company grew and its technology needs changed, he was unwilling to learn some new technologies himself that really everybody in the company was asking him, you know, we need you to do this. We need you to learn these new technologies. We need you to learn this new way of working. And he just refused to do it, you know. So I think one way pride can really kill your software project is if you let past successes prevent you from growing and moving forward and really rising to the challenge of what the organization's asking you to do. That can really prevent everyone around you from really helping you move up and move into that next level of success wherever you're working. So the next story I'd like to talk to you about was a company I worked for as a consultant that was building a new product. This product was supposed to be, you know, first in its class, really exciting in the industry. It had a lot of innovative features in the founder's mind, and we were going to build this product. And over the duration of the requirements process, you know, which most of you are familiar with on this channel, where we were kind of negotiating with the client what was going to be in the product, what wasn't going to be in the product, we realized that the amount of ideas that were in this first version of the product were really not feasible to deliver in that customer's budget. You know, they had a huge amount of ideas that they were trying to release all to the customer, and they wanted to build all those before they actually saw are these really good ideas? Does the customer really want this? And if you go back to my MVP video, that'll talk about kind of my philosophy on lean software development and how we need to change the way that we're releasing to customers. But this client, a really nice person, really creative, really excited, but their pride in their own ideas prevented them from really listening to us. And we were trying to give them, some really good advice about, hey, in software development, you don't have to go about it the way that a manufacturing company would. You can go back and watch my video on A/B testing software to get a little bit more information on that approach. But in the end, we ended up building exactly the product that this client wanted. We built it on time and on budget, and they released it to the marketplace, and it was a failure. Their business literally went under. They didn't have any money that came in from this product that was able to pay back the expenses that they'd paid, that they budgeted for to build the product, and it was really sad. I mean, we really did everything we could to coach this client. We really did excellent work. We followed all of our processes. We had tried, to steer kind of during the project them to rein in their scope a little bit and not build so much. But they were so adamant and so prideful that they knew their customer better than the market did. And they needed to build all these ideas, otherwise nobody would buy the product. That's a problem that I see a lot in our industry is we look at maybe a competitor's product or a product in a different market, but that's a little bit similar. And we're looking at, designing our first version of our product or maybe redesigning a product. And we feel that, if we don't include all the bells and whistles and all the features of that other product, we can't compete. And it's simply not true. A lot of customers buy products because they're easier to use, not because they have every feature that they want. And one of the challenging things we have to do as technologists and as product managers is we have to make tough decisions and sometimes say no to the customer and say, I'm sorry, I know you want these 50 things, but that's going to make our product too complicated. We can't do that. So that's another way that pride can really hurt your software projects, is if you are trying to include too much in the product and making it too complicated at the expense of ease of use for your customers. So the last way I'll tell you that pride has really killed a project during my career and was very unfortunate, had effects on everyone, was I was working at a company that had a certain strategy for how they would sell work. And the strategy had worked for probably 10 to 15 years. And everybody at the company was used to selling that way. Everybody at the company had made a lot of money that way. And I and a few other people started to challenge the way that sales was being done at this company. And we weren't salespeople, we were technologists, but we had seen a shift in the industry where there was a completely different way that we needed to connect with our customers. There was a different set of motivations that we needed to align with to get them excited about letting us, help them do what they needed to do. And over the course of probably about 5 to 7 years, things started to shift, things started to change, but really that company, I believe, never really benefited from the true shift that they really could have made at the company had they fully embraced the challenge that we were kind of presenting to the way they sold, simply because it was scary to some people. And people had a lot of pride in the way they'd done it before. And very similar to the last story, they were all kind of holding on to, this is how we've done it before. We don't want to change, and I'm going to do a whole video in the future about just growing and embracing and cultivating a growth mindset, because I think this is critical for software developers and leaders of software companies. We as humans tend to get wrapped up in when we're really, really good at something and we've worked really hard to get there, we want to get as much value out of that work as possible. But that's not really how this industry works. This industry, we always need to be growing. And so we always need to find ways to humble ourselves. So now that we know that pride can really damage our software projects and our relationships and our careers, what are some ways we can stop it? How can we control pride? Well, one of the first things is practicing gratefulness. Think about what you have now. Think about in your career from the time you started to today. What are all the things that you've gotten? What are all the opportunities you've had? What are all the relationships that you've built? What are all the technologies that you've been exposed to? What are all the different interesting, project opportunities that you maybe never saw would come your way? Well, look back on that and enjoy that, enjoy the journey. If you're constantly pressing ahead to get more and do more and accomplish more and be seen for more, you never can really enjoy what you even have. And some people live their whole life just chasing, and they wonder, why am I never satisfied? Well, you've had ample opportunity for years and years and years and years to be satisfied. You just never wanted to stop and take that opportunity. And I'll tell you, I suffer from this same thing. I'm not telling you this as though somehow, I'm an expert at gratefulness. I have to practice this daily. I have to take time out of my day and think about, what have I actually received in this life? What are some of the things in my career that were really amazing that I've been able to benefit from? And keep those at the front of my mind. And the most important time to do it is when you're feeling prideful, when you're worried that you're not going to get rewarded for something, or you're worried somebody's not going to be as appreciative of what you've done on a project. Don't worry. Look back at the past. Look back at how many times you have been rewarded and the things you've done. Enjoy those. And that'll let you let go of the future and being so attached to that outcome of, I want recognition for my ideas, or I want recognition for my work. None of us are going to get recognition for everything we do. We can't let us stop doing what we're doing and growing. The way we get control over that is having gratitude, being grateful for what we have. The second way I think we can influence our ability to prevent pride from festering on software projects is to see the potential in people and not just their actual state. If we do a lot of work to get really good at something, it tends to be that once we get really good at it, we think that other people need to get as good as we are or think about things the same way we do to have value. Well, if other people looked at us like that, we would just be doing what they tell us to do. And that's not fun, right? What's fun is coming up with new ideas. Well, if we're going to expect other people to let us try our new ideas, we need to let other people try their new ideas. And really what that comes down to is looking at the people you're working with and your customers and your partners and who you're exposed to, and looking at them as people that even if they haven't shared with you some amazing new idea yet, the potential exists. Every person has something unique about them and their experience that they can offer to a project that you and nobody else can offer. But you have to trust that, and you have to create an environment and a culture at the company you're working at where people feel safe to offer ideas, especially new ideas that might fly in the face of the way things have been done before. So the third way I think we can get control over pride is to really trust learning and trust failures and trust the outcomes of the decisions we make and the things we do are really there because there's a purpose for them. And what I mean by this is, when we try something new, there's uncertainty. There's no guarantee that it's going to work out, that it's going to produce what we hoped for. And if we had to have a guarantee for everything we do, we'd never try anything new. So sometimes we have to just trust, I'm going to take my maybe idea on my project that I thought was really good and pare it down to something much smaller and maybe get that in front of some customers first and find out, is this a good or bad idea? And be ready for, if it turns out that it's a bad idea, I didn't fail, I learned something. Now I can pivot. This is like, again, the video I talked about A/B testing software. Today's lean software companies that are going to be most successful are the companies that have the humble attitude. They have a safe culture for people to try things and fail, and they learn from their outcomes. And they don't look at failure as something that means people aren't doing their job right. They look at it as it's a necessary thing. We all need to start doing more on software projects. We all need to go away from, move away from this I need to predict everything and read what the industry experts said and set up my development process so I'll get exactly this outcome. Because really, that's a comforting lie to most people that that's going to work, but it's just not the truth. The truth is, the market is changing all the time. Your competitors are not sitting still. New technologies are coming out all the time. People are learning new things all the time. Well, if you're going to survive in that environment, you have to take some risks, small risks, and you have to be ready to find out that the risk was a bad idea. And then when it is a bad idea, you can't punish yourself or punish other people. Otherwise, everybody is basically immobilized, and the only risks people will take is really small risks. And really small risks have really small rewards. It's the big risks that have the potential for the biggest rewards. So the only way that we're going to kind of conquer pride in our own personal pride and really help everybody be more open about trying things and not protecting what they know and protecting their past successes is if we can start to cultivate at the companies we work for and the project teams we work on a environment and a feeling and an attitude and a set of work philosophies and values that supports safety and risk-taking and learning. And this is something that I see so many companies have a difficult time with because, in this political climate, especially in the United States today, there's so many people complaining about how messed up it is. And yeah, there's all kinds of problems, and there have always been problems. But if you let that fear around your future control the way you do business today, I'll tell you, those other competitors that don't let that fear control them, they're going to annihilate you. You have to find a way that in the face of fear and in the face of pride, you can eliminate, punishing people for taking risks and really create a culture where people are okay with trying things that may not be popular. They're okay with trying things that aren't proven, because it's those things that are going to generate huge gains in efficiency, usability of products, profit, work culture. All the things that we want more of on our software projects don't come from looking to industry experts and picking the smallest, most proven risk and trying it out. No, they come from sometimes trying a whole bunch of little different things and finding out some totally don't work and some work amazingly. And just being okay with that and embracing it and just letting it be a way to move forward. And besides, what would be more fun? Would it be more fun to work at a company where everything you do every day is so structured and predictable, you never learn anything and you're never challenged and you never have to learn? I mean, if you're at that point in your career, have fun, but you're going to be bored sick and nobody's going to be inspired by you. You need to cultivate a feeling of, I'm going to try some risky, scary things. I'm going to take an idea that I have that, maybe even flies in the face of everything everyone in the industry is saying, but my experience is contradictory to that, and I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to see what's going to happen. So if you like this video today, give me a thumbs up below, subscribe to the channel, please, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks.